is available anytime, anywhere, what are we going to value? I think we'll value what is rare. Instead of someone, now John Howard was expert at this, 6 times a day he'd be out there talking to journalists about the cricket, about the weather, about you, name it. That has been continued. I think actually Julia Gillard is pulling back a little bit from that, and it's a good idea. I think it'd be much better if the Prime Minister of the day is actually less available, less accessible, but when she says something, when he or she says something, you might actually pause, take note. Steve Bracks makes this point actually, that the rule should be you go out there and say something when you have something to say. And this in turn, if we get back to this point, then we can return a bit of gravitas to the office. And in turn, I think journalists, one would hope, would pick up a cue from that and realise they were being treated seriously as well. If you have a press conference in a room, in a political office or in Parliament House, instead of in 40-degree heat under a tree or when you're on the run, journalists might actually get the idea that you're actually saying something that's serious. But now, this lady's question was, why am I an optimist? Yes. Why am I? Yes, why am I an optimist? Well, yeah. As I say, I have this awful feeling in my gut that it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I think we're going to kind of limp into the next election with both sides saying, vote for us because, the other person's really scary, or, she's really scarier than we are. All this sort of nonsense. And there won't be much of a policy there. And I'll just, one point, what could be more important than David Gonski's report on needs-based funding for our schools? God help us, we've just had, the most recent international data showing that Year 4 primary school students are number 27. In fact, the figures are so bad I don't want to believe them. Number 27. The United States is ahead of us, and their system's a bit of a court case at the moment. Now, here we are, we're finishing with that kind of international data, and we got to the end of the year with a thin piece of legislation about Gonski goals, but not a dollar attached to it. Still no agreement with the states, and that report came to the government in February of this year. Now, as we all know, the education is the thing that does define Labor governments. Gough Whitlam was defined. There are people around the country this day who got their tertiary education because of Gough Whitlam's changes.